How's it going, everybody? This is Nick from Laidlaw's Harley-Davidson, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Capstone II helmet from Harley-Davidson. I want to take a look at the Capstone II today because it's really in a sweet spot of price, functionality, and looks, and it's really probably our most popular helmet here. So with that said, that's going to lead us into the design of the helmet. Just like the Capstone I, the Capstone II is a modular helmet, and that means that by pressing on the red button up here at the lower side of the chin bar, you can fold the helmet up into a sort of three-quarter shell position. And what this is going to let you do is not really ride in a normal three-quarter helmet shell configuration. This doesn't really pop off, so it's always going to be there on the helmet. It's not really, I mean, you can ride with it up, and I do see people ride with it up, but really what this allows you to do is when you get to a gas station or when you pull over at the side of the road and you're using your phone, especially like phones with facial recognition, it's going to let you access your phone. It's going to let you drink water. It's going to let you do whatever you would normally do by taking your helmet off if you had a fixed, full face helmet. And instead it's going to give you that practicality of a three-quarter helmet when you're at a stop. So unlike me, where every time I get to a rest stop, I'm always taking my helmet off. A lot of guys that are rocking the modular, they don't have to do that because they just lift the chin bar up, they can easily eat some food, drink some water, and go about their rest stop without having to take their chin strap off. It's also going to get you a little bit more ventilation when you're at a stop. Popping just the visor alone doesn't let as much air in as this does. So it's a nice thing to be able to do it even at a red light, on a hot day, rather than having that chin bar forcing your hot breath back at you as you exhale at a light. So there's a lot of practicality, and it's definitely a really popular helmet configuration because you get the vast majority of the safety of a fixed chin bar because, obviously you've got metal fasteners here that secure the chin bar down. So it's a really safe design, second really only to a fixed full face helmet. But you get, the accessibility and the practicality, or the comfort, I should say probably, of the three-quarter design. It's really not a surprise that this style of helmet is extremely popular, and the Capstone really offers the vast majority of the features and functionality you would expect from a modular helmet, and it does so at a really competitive and compelling price. So continuing on with the design of the overall helmet, I'm a big fan of the looks of it. It's really clean, simple. It doesn't have a overly sport bike race, aesthetic to it, but it doesn't scream, heritage classic cruiser. It's got a really kind of tough look to it without being over the top. This is something that you could wear on the live wire, or you could wear on a street glide, or you could wear it on a street bob. It's not going to look out of place on pretty much any Harley made. I would say maybe something like the Slim, but I'm the guy that's riding around in a full racing helmet on a Slim, so maybe my opinion isn't the most valid when it comes to overall looks. It does come in 4 different colors from Harley. You've got billiard red, which is going to of course match Harley's billiard red. So if you got like a billiard red touring bike, this is going to be a really cool option because it's going to perfectly match the factory paint. And you've got gauntlet gray on the helmet to my right, which is also going to match the factory Harley gauntlet gray. So if you're getting one of the new street glides in gauntlet gray, or you're getting one of the limiteds, this is going to be an awesome helmet to pair with that because it's going to match perfectly. So moving off of design and into features, this is really where we're going to spend the majority of our time because the feature set is what makes the Capstone II such an important helmet. As I mentioned before, one of the key features of the Capstone is the fact that it's a modular design. So you can pull the chin bar up or you can leave it down. That adds a whole bunch of functionality to the helmet. The sky's the limit in terms of things that's going to let you do. But it's not the only thing that this helmet packs. You've also got a drop-down visor, which is really important to people. I'm constantly having to change out the shields on my full-face helmets because I ride into work and it's bright, and then I ride home and it's dark. So it's really nice to have the drop-down visor on here. You've got a slider here. It's going to be easy to find even if you're wearing gloves. And it's a mechanical slider, so it's not spring-loaded. So I don't have fear of a spring snapping or something like that and losing the functionality. It also means that you can kind of pick and choose where you want the visor to be. You don't have 2 locations, down and up. You've got kind of a range of positions. So it's really nice drop-down visor, and it's really my preferred setup for a guy that rides in a whole bunch of different situations because you're not constantly trying to change out the shield. That being said, the shield mechanism is quite simple. You just pull down on 2 tabs on either side and the shield pops off. It's a very quick and easy shield change mechanism, and not really surprised to see that. You can get, of course, smoke shields or replacement shields, so if this gets scratched up over time or chips from rocks and that kind of stuff, you're not out a helmet. You can just replace the shield component of it. And when you're going to put the shield back on, it's real easy. It just snaps back into place and you're done. So really quick and easy shield change mechanism. It used to be a lot more complicated on a whole bunch of different helmets. This is a great example of how to do it. It's intuitive, quick, easy. It shouldn't require an engineering degree to get a shield on and off. And of course, as always, extremely important to me and to the majority of people in California would be the venting scheme. So you've got a chin vent here with 2 positions, open and closed. That's going to vent air to your face and to the visor. So if you're riding in cold weather, you're probably going to want to leave this one open to prevent fogging. And then on the top portion of the helmet, you've got some additional vents. So you've got a center, very large scoop here that's going to let a whole bunch of air into the helmet. And then you've got passive vents on the back. So these vents do have holes in the EPS that are cut that are going to allow the hot air that is accumulating in the air to be extracted out of the back. So as air flows over the helmet, it creates a bit of a vacuum and it's going to pull air out of these scoops here. So there's actually 2 vents cut into the EPS, and there's channels cut in the EPS from the front where the inlet is here, and then wraps around actually the top of your head, and then extracts out the back of the helmet. So it's going to be a pretty effective cooling solution. Obviously there are helmets that have more vents than this, but at this price point, having an active vent set up like this along with the channels cut in the EPS is going to offer you a lot of cooling for not that much money. The helmet is secured with a double D ring strap here, which is really my preferred setup. It's going to be the one that's most familiar to American riders, and it's quick, safe, easy, and it's pretty much foolproof. The liner is wicking and antimicrobial, which is nice to see on a price point like this. It is fully removable, which is, it's a huge deal. Being able to pull out both the cheek pads and the headliner is really important to the longevity of the helmet overall. So what it's really going to let you do is make sure that the liner is not degrading as much over time as it normally would from the acidity and the oils of your skin, and hair products, all the kind of stuff that ends up on the inside of a helmet. You want to be able to wash that out regularly, and having a removable liner just makes washing and cleaning the helmet so much easier. An update that I'm really fond of the Capstone II is the dual-sided access point. So for left and right-handed riders, you've got the ability to lift up the chin strap, or excuse me, not the chin strap, but you have the ability to lift up the visor with either hand. I always like to talk about helmet safety, and talk about some of the features that are going to be crucial to helmet safety. First, I like to just start with the overall construction of the helmet. So this is a polycarbonate helmet. That's an injection molded plastic. It's an advanced type of polycarb, which is going to be very safe in low speed style accidents. It's not safe in higher speed accidents, but polycarbonate shells actually do better than fiberglass shells in low speed accidents because they tend to have a little bit more flex to them, and that just means that they're going to deform a little bit more, spread the energy of an impact over a larger area than a harder shell is going to be able to do at a low speed accident. That's why racing helmets tend to be carbon fiber or fiberglass, because you tend to be going down at higher speeds. Whereas street helmets are very often polycarbonate, both because the speeds of the accidents tend to be lower, but also because they're trying to usually hit a slightly lower price point. Polycarbonate does have a few downsides. One, as we mentioned, it is a little bit more flexible, which means that in order to maintain strength and rigidity over the shell, it has to be a little bit thicker and heavier, therefore, than fiberglass, which is a downside that you'll notice, especially on longer rides, windier conditions. You're just going to have more strain on your neck. And that's just an inherent downside of polycarbonate, unfortunately. But on the flip side, you're going to be paying a lot less than you would be paying for the vast majority of fiberglass helmets, and you're certainly going to be getting excellent safety out of this helmet. The inner liner, the soft liner that actually helps mitigate additional energy, is EPS, which is standard across the industry. It's going to offer lots of good performance, And this helmet is both DOT and ECE rated. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, ECE is the European regulation system for helmets. It's quite a bit stricter than DOT, and it's always nice to see that dual accreditation on here, just because that safety standard of ECE is, like I said, quite a bit more strict and stringent than DOT, and so this helmet's going to perform to a higher standard than a helmet that only receives, or potentially is going to perform to a higher standard than a helmet that only received a DOT approval. This helmet is compatible with Harley's intercom systems. It'll also work with HJC's in-house communication system. So if you have that, it will go right into here. This helmet does offer a few shell sizes, which is really nice to see. As I mentioned before, polycarbonate does tend to be a little bit heavier, but when you run multiple shell sizes, it just means that if you've got a guy who needs an XXXL, he's not going to have to have, you're not going to have the shell size big enough to fit him, also work for the person that's putting on a small helmet like myself. And so that means the small helmet can be smaller and lighter and fit, more accurately to a smaller rider, and you don't have to have the drawbacks of using one shell across a whole variety of sizes. I always like to dive into what I think is the value proposition of the helmet, and honestly, I've always thought the Capstone was a good deal for the money that you're paying. You're getting really nice build quality, fit and finish is excellent. The paint work on these looks great. All of the the actuations for the vents feels great. The drop down sun visor, the actuation is smooth and nice. There's not really a lot to complain about in overall fit and finish. The interior liner is soft, and it features, like I said, antimicrobial properties, along with helping to keep you cool by wicking away the sweat. So I don't have a lot to complain about in terms of the value. I would have really liked to have seen an emergency cheek pad release system. Maybe HJC felt it wasn't really necessary, because when you do lift up the chin bar, it's quite easy for someone to pull the cheek pads a little bit, which is going to reduce the strain on the neck if you end up taking the helmet off of someone who's had an accident. That being said, Harley has helmets that they offer at lower price points than this that do offer the emergency cheek pad removal system. So I would have liked to have seen it on this helmet. It would have been a nice update to have. Ultimately, like I said, I still think it's a very strong value. It's a safe helmet. It's ECE rated. It's a modular helmet. It's sub $260. It's $250 in terms of its MSRP. You can match it to the color of your bike. It's got good ventilation. It's got the drop-down visor. The shield is easy to change. There's a whole variety of sizes, and it's hard to not see the value in all of those things, especially at the $250 price point. So I don't have a lot of complaints about the helmet. I think it's a really good successor to the Capstone I. I think it's going to be just as popular as that original helmet was, and I'm excited to hear what you guys think about the helmet. So please do leave your feedback, your comments, and any suggestions for what reviews you'd like to see in the future. More than happy to take a look at what you guys want to see, and as always, if you have any desire to come in and try these on, that's the best way to figure out your fitment. I did try on one of these helmets. I tend to be a small or a medium depending on the manufacturer, and with this helmet I was a small. So take that for what you will. I think it fits true to size. That being said, I cannot stress this enough. It's always best to go in and try on helmets. Different manufacturers have different standards. You're going to want to measure your head, try on a variety of helmets, and get the one that's going to be, that's going to fit you best. Because not only is that going to be the most comfortable, but it's going to be the safest. So, like I said, try it on. Come on down. We'll help you get fitted, and I'll see you in the next video.